Trina here from Scrappy Horses. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So happy you could pay me a visit. I am working on a card for the Cut It Up Challenge blog, and the theme is create a scene. And that's what we're asking everybody to do. We're just going to go out and create a scene. But remember, to play over at the Cut It Up Challenge, you must use a die cut of some kind. This could be a die cut from Cricut Design Space, Silhouette, or you could use an actual die and run it through your die cutting machine. All right, let's take a look at this in Cricut Design Space because I have built quite a scene here. Some of it is with actual physical pieces. Some of it I have built within Cricut Design Space using the print then cut. So let's get started. I'm working with a really cute digital image from Julius Marie called Newlyweds on a Cabriolet. I have some Digi papers here from DeCosse's Dynamite Doodles, Taste of Summer. I have some green papers that are from my stash. I'll be honest, once you put them into Cricut Design Space, it's hard to figure out where they came from. And I went back and looked through hordes of digital paper and I could not find where those green ones came from. So any green papers will do. The tree is from Close to My Heart Art Philosophy. The sun is from Wildcard. The heart arrow and the heart border are from Close to My Heart Artistry. And the sentiment, Happy Anniversary, comes from Erica Digital Design. Whenever I create a card in Cricut Design Space, I start off with my card blank. I do not cut these in Cricut Design Space. This question actually came up on one of the Facebook blogs I belong to, and they were asking how many people actually cut their card blanks in Cricut Design Space. I do not. I just cut them with a paper slicer. It's much easier, and I don't waste any paper that way. However, I did just make a card not too long ago where the card base had a shape to it. That I actually cut in Cricut Design Space. I will leave a video link to that below if you're interested in seeing that. These white pieces right here and here, these are just the card blank. And it would be this over this flipping down or flipping up, however you want to look at it. I do that just to create my sizes, and the majority of cards I make are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So let's just sort of put those off to the side. Let's move this off to the side for a moment, and we'll move this off to the side. I know that I want my card front to measure about 5 1/4 by 4. So I bring in a shape here, and it starts out as a square. So I click and I move it to the size that I like. I usually just type it in right up here. So width 5.25 by, I unlock, by 4. This is where I'm going to create this background and start creating my scene. I know that I want part of it to be sky. So here that is. So I'm just going to bring that in and lay it right on top. So I know that I want it to be 5 1/4 wide. So 5.25. And that is now ready. I know my tree is going to take up the entire size of the card vertically, so I know I'm going to need to cut that. So I'm going to go ahead and make a copy of this piece right here, this back piece. Command C, Command V will do it, or you can simply click on it, right click, and you can duplicate. So either way works. All right, so let's just move these down to the bottom and let's talk about this tree we're going to build into our scene. I know that the tree came from, let's just pull this back up, Art Philosophy, Close to My Heart, So when I go back to find it, I'm going to click Images. I'm going to type in tree. I'm going to hit my return. And look at all these trees. Okay, I happen to know that that's a purchased one for me. So now I only have to look through 287. Well, I happen to know this cartridge pretty well. So as I scan through, I know that this Christmas tree comes from that same cartridge. So I can click those three dots, View Image Sets, click Art Philosophy, come up here and type in tree. And there it is. That made it a whole lot quicker. And there's our tree. Now, I can change this tree to look however I want it to look. I can select it. I can make it taller. I can make it wider. I can keep the dimension by dragging on this box. I can do whatever I like. So what I did is I actually made it a little bit longer or taller. There we go. And then I cut it. All right. So I knew I wanted about this much in. So I'm going to go ahead and select my tree here. I'm lining it up. And I don't want that right there, that little corner. So I'm going to go ahead and extend it up just a smidge more. There we go. Now we have 2 layers of tree to cut through. So I'm going to need 2 layers of this rectangle to use. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that again. I'm going to take these 2 rectangles, select them. I'm going to align them center. Now I'm going to take everything I have here and I'm going to align the bottom. All right, now I'm going to close my eye on one of these rectangles. I am going to close my eye on the tree trunk. I'm doing this over here. So here was the rectangle. I'm doing it in this right-hand column. Here's the rectangle. Here's the eye, open, close. Here is the tree trunk. Close that. I'm going to select these 2. I'm going to slice. All right, I can get rid of the sliced image. I don't need it. So I'm right-clicking and I'm going to say delete. I also don't need this piece anymore. The slice results in gray. I right-click, delete, right-click, delete. Now, I'm going to hide this tree. I'm going to come back and open the eye on the tree trunk, and I'm going to open the eye on the other rectangle. I'm going to select those 2. I'm going to slice. Again, I don't need these slice results. Right-click, delete, right-click, delete, right-click, delete. I'm going to open my eye on my tree, and there it is. We've got it all back again. I simply went with brown for my tree trunk. So I'm going to come in and pick my brown. I didn't want blue for my tree here, so I went in and changed it from a basic cut to a print then cut. Left click the blue square, left click color, left click pattern, and I went and found a green. I'm going to choose this green this time. I'm not sure if it's the same one. It doesn't matter. I can come in and edit this pattern. And I can move it to the left and right. And I can move it up and down. There we go. This is not the same one I chose before. It doesn't really matter. And now I have my tree ready. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and just select them both. I'm going to go ahead and flatten it. That way they'll stay together and they're ready to go. And I can move this away because I don't need it anymore. This is going to be the sky, this white, and this is going to be the ground. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up this bottom, which is my ground, and I'm going to pick up another green. So I'm going to make it a print then cut, left click, left click, left click pattern, and I'm going to find another green, something a little different. Again, I didn't choose the same one. It doesn't matter. Now I'm going to come in and choose my sky. I select the white rectangle, change it from a basic cut to a print then cut, left click the white square, left click pattern, choose my pattern, and again we're going to edit this pattern. We can move it up and down again and side to side. There we go. I think I want those a little closer to the top there. Most of these clouds are going to get covered up anyway. We're going to say that's okay. Click our X. We're going to line this up at the top. So align, center, align, tap. And again, we can go ahead, select these two, and flatten. Now that we have this flattened, we actually have the inside of our card sentiment piece. Okay, so let's just select it. Let's duplicate it, and let's stick it over here. We can downsize it just a little bit here. And now that's ready to make into the inside of our card. Now let's bring our tree in. Select them both. Let's align right and bottom. So we aligned bottom, now align right. And while they're both selected, we can flatten. Here's our card base that we're going to cut. There's the first layer of our scene all ready to go now. Let's work on the inside of our card. We're going to come over, we're going to pick up a shape, square, turn it into a rectangle. We're just going to eyeball this. We're going to center that. So we select them both, align, center. I'm going to change this gray to white. I'm going to offset it. And I'm moving it down to about 0.069, maybe a little bigger, maybe 0.083, and I'm just using my arrow key to move that. I'm going to move it up to actually 0.97. I'm going to give it sharp corners. I'm going to apply. I really don't want that to be black. Let's change it to a pretty blue. There we go. And let's bring in the happy anniversary. So I'm going to go to images, type in happy anniversary, and then we can just choose one. And there are going to be lots to choose from here. So you can choose any one you like. Oh, here's the one I found from Erica Digital Design. So I left click, add to canvas. That came in rather large. So let's just sort of come up here and say width 4. There we go. Now let's bring that up and we can make it even smaller. I decided to sort of go with a gray here. So I have it selected. All I need to do is come up and change this to gray. I'd like it a little darker than that. Maybe there we go. And the anniversary, I would like the same color. And now it's all the same color. Now, I also want to add this little star, or actually it's a sunbeam here. So I know that the sun, let's come over here again, was from Close to My Heart Art Philosophy. Since you already know how I did that, I'm going to cheat a little bit here in this. I'm just going to copy it from over here. Save us a little bit of time. So we're going to duplicate that. Going to make it a little bit smaller and bring it in so it fits up here on the card. And I'm going to turn it just a little bit. There we go. Bring my happy anniversary down a smidge. would like to outline that too. So let's choose it. Let's offset it. That's a little much. See how it's kind of round there? Let's change it to points. There we go. And let's make it a smaller one yet. So I'm using my keyboard arrows. There we go. And apply. I'm going to change that black to sort of a brownish gold, kind of an orangey gold color there. And I'm going to change the actual sunbeam here to something just a smidge lighter. And now I can choose it all. I'm selecting it all. I'm coming over to this right-hand column and saying flatten. And there it is. The inside is now done. All right, let's set that aside. And let's go ahead and build the rest of our scene. So what I did then is I basically brought in this Digi from Julius Paris. Let's move it to the front. Chose my size that I wanted it. I chose this little Polaroid frame. Let's move that to the front. And laid that out here. And let's go ahead and move this out. This is kind of hard to get to now. So I can come over to my right-hand column, touch it here, or tap it, and then I can use my arrows and just move. There we go. Now I have my sun, so I bring that in, move it to the front. I know it's going to sit right in here. I actually just came over to shapes and picked up a circle for the inside like so. Changed my color and then changed the size. You can make that whatever size you like. And then I brought this in and decided I'd like it over on that Polaroid side here just to give it a little interest. So we can bring it in and set it in right here. And then this little heart piece, again, just a little bit of interest. I thought it would be fun to sort of make it like a little sign hanging on the tree there. And I'm going to just scooch this like there we go. And there it is. Now we have our scene all built and ready. So you saw how we came up with all of our pieces now for our card. Let's go to the craft table and let's physically build this. All right, here we are at the craft table and all of the pieces are cut. I have my card base and here are all the little pieces that we talked about in Cricut Design Space. You can see that this one piece, the front of the card, printed all on one piece, and so did the inside liner. I'm going to come in with a sponge and a little bit of ink here, and this is sort of, I believe it was a champagne color, very light brown. I am just dabbing onto these pieces. It just adds a little texture and interest. It kind of gives it the texture of the sponge. I'm going to go ahead and use an embossing folder and run this sun through the machine just to give it a little bit of visual texture. Now the middle of the sun I'm going to put into my embossing ink pad here, and you'll see that there's some brown over there that's come off. I went ahead and put it over there just to give it a little more interest, and I put it through with some clear powder. Well, I didn't like it. So I'm going to come back now and I'm going to use some really bright yellow powder. Let's see how that looks. So this is my second time doing this, and I've decided that yes, I like the yellow a lot better. I think it's going to look really shiny and it's going to look really pretty on top of the little textured piece of sun. So moving on now, we're going to go ahead and adhere the card front to the card base, and we're going to start building this scene. So I'm going to use my Zig two-way because I can get a very thin line of glue right along the bottom there, and then I can go ahead and place my frame on. Now I didn't get it quite where I wanted, but the nice thing about Zig two-way is it's not going to really grab. So I have plenty of time to get in there and move things around and get it exactly where I want it. Now I'm going to come in And I'm going to put in that little heart piece, that little border piece along on the Polaroid part there, and just gives it a little more interest. I'm going to build my sign. I decided I didn't want to place it directly on top. Instead, I thought it would be fun to lay it on so some of the red would show and it would kind of give it a little more dimension. I'm going to go ahead and use my Fabri-Tac and add the middle of my sun. And you can see that there's a lot of shine on that now with those 2 coats of embossing powder. It's really kind of fun. All right, time to start gluing everything down, and basically that's all there is left to do. We're just going to glue everything into place, and we're going to also add the inside sentiment liner. I'm going to add the little pieces with Fabri-Tac. The inside piece I will go ahead and just add with my ATG. And that completes the card. All right, I know we covered a lot in Cricut Design Space. If there are any questions or comments, please leave them in the box below. I invite you to join us over at Cut It Up for this challenge so you can just create a scene. All right, have a great week. I'll catch up with you in the next video. Bye.